What's good, y'all? It's CBH, the creator of Suthun Gridiron Darts, and in today's video, we're going over in-game statistics and how each one is recorded.
All right, so we're going to start with offensive stats. Pretty simple here. Scores, touchdowns, yards, yards per play, yards per throw, and so on and so forth. So let's get to it.
Now, right here, the offense is starting at the 36-yard line, their own 36. And to gain yardage, you obviously hit the numbers. So 19, single 19 counts as 19 yards gain. Treble 7 adds 10 yards to the 7, so it's a 17-yard gain. And double 16 adds 20 yards to the 16 for a 36-yard gain. And a touchdown pending defense response.
All right, so before the defense responds, let's go over what the offense has done. We see what the offense has hit. Now we're going to go down to the stats button down here at the bottom. And we're going to see with what the offense hit with the 19, treble 7, and double 16. That's averaging 24 yards per throw. 24 yards per throw before the defense has responded. So that means defensive throws have no effect on the offense's average yards per throw.
All right, so here we go. The defense is getting ready to respond to the offense's throws. They need to hit 19, treble 7, and double 16 to negate the throws. They hit single 19 for a no gain. They hit single 7, so the offense picks up those yards. And then the defense hits single 16, so the offense picks up 36 yards on the double 16 hit.
Okay, so now let's check out the stats since the defense has responded. As we can see, CD picked up 53 yards on that first set of downs. They're averaging 17.67 yards per play. Yards per play, obviously, is how many yards you're picking up when the defense has responded to that play. And as we went over before, yards per throw is how many yards you're averaging before the defense has responded. They picked up one first down on that set of downs, and they're averaging right now, currently, they're averaging 53 yards per possession because that's how far they have gone on the field so far, even though their possession's not over just yet. And they've had 3 total offensive plays, hit 1 single, 1 double, and 1 treble. Okay, so now we're going to go over first and goal touchdown ratio. Anytime the offense has a first down 30 yards or closer to their opponent's end zone, that's a first and goal scenario. And if the defense is able to prevent the offense from scoring there, we'll show you the stats behind that. And if the offense does score a touchdown in that scenario, we'll show you what that looks like in the stats section next. And as you can see in this scenario, the defense was unable to stop the offense from scoring a touchdown. All right, so let's go over the stats. Now that CD has scored a touchdown, as we can see, the score has jumped up to 6 for CD. Obviously, due to the touchdown, they have 1 offensive touchdown. That stat does not include any touchdowns scored on kick or punt returns. It's only offensive touchdowns. They accumulated 73 yards on the possession. In first and goal situations, they are 1 for 1, meaning anytime you get a first down within your opponent's 30-yard line, at the 30-yard line or closer, then that's a first and goal situation. So this ratio takes into account if you are able to score when you have a first down and all you have to do is score a touchdown for your next first down. All right. So obviously they accumulated 4 offensive plays during that drive with 2 singles. And we pretty much have gone over all the other stats so you understand them. So these are the offensive stats that will be tracked during the game. And that's a breakdown of how they work. Your average yards per possession takes all the total yards you accumulate in every single play, and it's divided by however many possessions you have during the game. That's how average yards per possession works. And obviously the offense accumulated 73 yards on this first possession. Also, it does not count as an offensive possession if the offense does not make an offensive throw. So if they just down the ball or immediately kick a field goal, then that does not officially count as a possession. So now let's move on to defensive stats.
So here we go with the defense getting ready to respond to the offensive throws. The offense hit 20, 19, and 17. So the defense hits 20 to negate that throw. They hit treble 19 for a 5-yard loss, and then 2. So the offense gained 17 yards on the final play of this drive. All right, so here we go with the defensive stats for Southern after they made their response throws to CD's offensive throws. They obviously matched 2 throws and denied 44 yards in the process. Their percentage is 66%, which is 2/3, obviously. One of the matches went for a loss. One of the matches went for a loss as they hit treble 19, and that was a 5-yard loss. So it shows the total amount of losses that the defense has forced in the game. It was 1 3 and out because we're going to assume that CD is going to go ahead and punt the ball with this sort of field position. So a 3 and out is whenever you keep the offensive team from getting at least 1 first down during that particular possession, which is obviously good for the defense because that's fewer chances for the offense to score and move the ball up the field. Now here we have a pending touchdown scenario set up as the offense has hit 20 and 19 for a pending touchdown upon defense response. The defense hits 20 to negate that throw. They hit treble 16, so there's a 19-yard gain, but the touchdown has been negated. All right, so as you can see down at pending touchdowns denied ratio, anytime the offense has a pending touchdown and the defense is able to deny it, then it will show up here on the denied ratio. If they're unable to deny it, like if Southern didn't deny that touchdown, they'll be 0-1 with the denied ratio. So here we're going to go over turnovers forced statistic. You can always force a turnover on a throw following a match throw. Here, the defense is going to hit 20, and that's their first match throw. And the very next throw, they go for the bullseye section, which forces the turnover, so that Southern takes possession and a first down. All right, so now you can see Southern turnover force is at 1. It's pretty straightforward and simple. Every time you force a turnover, it'll count towards that statistic. Now here in this scenario, we're going to show what happens when the defense misses the board entirely. It causes a forfeited throw. So not only does the offense gain the yard on that particular corresponding throw, but they gain the yards for the next throw. So here it was a 20-yard gain followed by a 19-yard gain because the defense forfeited their next throw, which leads to a touchdown at the end of this drive. So now here we can see after the forfeited throw that led to a touchdown, Southern is shown to have 1 forfeited throw. So plain and simple enough with that statistic. Now here we're going to show a safety. CD, the offense has the ball at their own 2-yard line. They've already thrown. So now Southern's aiming for 19. They hit treble 19, which causes a 5-yard loss for the offense, which leads the helmet into their own end zone for a safety. All right, so there you go with the safeties forced. Southern just forced the safety, so they have 1 on their ledger. So now let's move on to special team stats. So here CD is on offense, and they're at the 27-yard line, and they're going for a field goal. They must hit outer single section to hit it, and they do by hitting outer single 6 for a good field goal. All right, so now we're in the special team stats. As we can see, have 1 field goal attempt for CD, 100%, because they made that field goal attempt. The average distance of your field goal is 27 yards because that field goal occurred at the 27-yard line of Southern. Now let's move on to kickoffs and returns. So here after the field goal, CD will be kicking off to Southern. Kickoffs always take place at the 30-yard line of the team kicking off. Here they hit 14. You times that by 4, and that equals a 56-yard kick. Now after the kick, Southern will be returning the ball, and they must aim for 14 since that is what CD hit. Or they could aim for bullseye to go for a big return. But they hit treble 14 here, which means it's a 20-yard return and first down. All right, now let's move on to the second portion of special team stats. CD will kicked off, and it was a 56-yard kick, so that's where you get the average yards per kickoff. Southern returned, and it was 1 return for 20 yards as they hit the treble section of the 14, so that's where you get average yards per return. Now, they're starting their offensive possession at the 34-yard line, so that's where you get average starting field position. So it takes wherever you start your offensive possession, and it takes the average yards of that start, and that's where you get your average starting field position. Now on this stat, it will either show own or OPP, meaning opposition. So if you start at your own 34-yard line, that means you're starting on your own side of the field. If it shows op,
it means you're starting on the opponent's side of the field. Now let's go over punts. Right now, Southern's getting ready to punt the ball away. They're at their own 43-yard line. They hit 16, so you times that by 3 on a punt, and that means it's a 48-yard punt. And now CD will return. And they must aim for the 16 or bullseye for a big return. They hit 8, so that means there's no return, but they have possession of the ball. So the punt stat is pretty straightforward. Southern just punted, so they have one punt on the game, and it was for 48 yards, and that's where your average yards per punt comes in. Now at the bottom, you see kickoffs or kicks and punts deep. This occurs anytime you're able to kick or punt the ball within 10 yards of your opponent's end zone. So it'll show that you had a kickoff or punt deep whenever the ball ends up within 10 yards of your opponent's end zone.
Now here we're going to go over touchbacks. CD has a kickoff again from their own 30-yard line. They kick the ball by hitting 19, times that by 4. It's a 76-yard kick, and it ends up in the end zone. So Southern has the option of accepting a touchback, which they do, meaning they get a first down at their own 20.
All right, since Southern accepted the touchback after the ball was kicked into their end zone, it counts towards CD stats as a touchback kicked. The same would occur during a punt. When a ball is punt and it ends up in the opponent's end zone, that counts as a touchback kicked. And that's where that statistic comes from.
All right, so right here, we're going to go over missed returns. So CD is kicking the ball off again, and they're at their 30-yard line. They hit 17, times that by 4, and it is a 68-yard kick. So the ball is at the 2-yard line of Southern, and now they must return the ball by aiming for 17 here. And he missed the board. So it is a missed return, meaning CD gets the ball back at the 2-yard line of Southern. All right, so way down at the bottom of the special team stats, you have missed returns. Anytime you hit a missed board during return throw, which occurs after a punt or kickoff, then it counts as a missed return.
And on missed returns, possession goes back to the team who kicked off or punted at the spot of the missed return. So this is a very crucial play if you miss the board during a return throw.
All right, so real quick before ending this video, let's go over full game statistics. This is a simulated game that was played earlier. As you can see, the final score was CD 24, Southern 17. You had 3 offensive touchdowns for CD, 2 for Southern. Let's go over the yards here. Usually a good amount of yards for a game is a little under 300. It depends on your skill level. It depends on your opponent's skill level, obviously. You would like to average a little over 10 yards per play. That means you're pretty much getting consistent first downs because you get 4 downs, but 3 downs really to try to get another first down. And if you're averaging at least 10 yards per play, that guarantees you're going to get the 30 yards needed to get a first down. Average yards per throw, you want it to be above 15. That means that the defense is forced to negate at least 2 of your throws. So out of 3, they need to negate at least 2 out of 3 throws to keep you from getting a first down if you're averaging over 15 yards per throw. Total first downs can vary how much you get per game. So there's not a specific number you need to go for that. Average yards per possession, you would like to average more than a first down per possession, but that can come and go. First and goal touchdown ratios, you would like to be 100% there. That's not always going to happen. Total offensive plays, it depends. If you're able to score quickly against your opponent, then your total offensive plays are going to be low. But in general, your offensive plays are going to be in the 20 to 25 range. And you would like to consistently hit treble. Depends on your skill level once again. But if you're on a high skill level, you would like to average at least 1 treble per 3 throws. So 1 treble per set of downs. So right here, Southern was able to hit 7 trebles on 25 offensive plays. All right, so here's a full game of defensive stats. Match throws, CD had 10, Southern had 8. Match throws are going to depend on the quality of your opponent and obviously your own skill level, but you'll like to match at least about 10, get 10 in the game, but it also depends on how many offensive throws your opponent has. 174 yards denied against 104 yards denied. Once again, that's going to depend on your opponent and if they're hitting big throws. And of course, your own skill level, if you're able to negate a high quality, a high caliber of throws. Now, plays match percent, you would like to be at least above a 50. You have 40 right here, but again, that's going to depend on your opponent's skill level. If you can get above a 50, then there's a good chance you're going to keep your opponent from getting too many first downs. Matches for losses, that can vary during a game. The more matches you have for losses, the higher quality you have when it comes to throwing, and yards for losses corresponds the same. 3 and outs, there's no specific number of 3 and outs you can get per game, but the more the better. Pending touchdown ratio denied, this is where you really want to shine. You want to keep your opponent from getting a touchdown when there's one pending here. That'll be great. Turnovers forced, that can vary. It'll be nice to get 1 to 2 per game, but there's no guarantee to that. All right, now special team stats can vary. There's no specific amount of field goals you'll like. Of course, you would like to have 100% on field goal attempts. And the closer average distance your field goal, the better for you because you'll have a better chance of hitting the field goal. Now, for your average starting field position, the closer to your opponent's end zone, the better. Average yards kickoff, you want to average above 50 yards, I would say. Between 50 and 60 on a kickoff, if not higher. Punts, you try to minimize how many punts you have because that's a reflection on how well you're playing offense. Average yards per punt, you want to try to get over 40 at least, maybe even closer to 50 on your average yards per punt. Returns, it'll be nice if you can average at least 10 yards per return, if not higher. Touchbacks kicked, you want to avoid touchbacks kicked at all costs because that's just giving your opponent 20 yards away from their end zone. And kickoffs or punts deep. Every punt or kickoff you do, you want to try to kick it as deep as possible and pin your opponent as close as possible to their own end zone so they'll have to drive the length of the field. So that is it for this video. I hope y'all enjoyed it and understand the statistics a little bit more when it comes to Southern Gridiron Darts. And I'll catch you on the next one. And as always, stay dirty.